Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica and today I'm going to be choosing my February TBR. And this never happens, I actually finished my entire TBR for January. In fact, right before I filmed this, I had to film myself picking another book because I ran out of books to read. Never happens. So I'm really hopeful that this is going to be a great reading year. And we have two jars, if you haven't been here before with me. This jar contains all of my unread physical books, and we will be choosing at least one book from there. And this jar contains a whole bunch of prompts that I will use to try and figure out what I'm going to read this month. I usually try to do about 10 books. I might do a couple extra this month since I got through so many, but I don't want to get overly ambitious, so we will see. I do have 2 arcs that I need to get to in the month of February, so hopefully we'll be able to get those in with the TBR prompts. If we do, I'll tell you about them. If not, I'll just add them on at the end. And I also have at least one new release that I'm thinking about. There aren't that many books coming out in February that I'm interested in reading. So I'm going to start out by drawing my physical book that I'm going to be reading this month. So I have a lot of stuff in here, a lot of stuff that I just added. So I'm going to try and mix it up and then let's see what we get. This is good. I'm happy with this. This is The Magpie Murders. I'm going to try and show these to you, but no guarantees. Okay, so The Magpie Murders, let me go find that. All right, I got the book here and I managed to knock over a whole bunch of books on my shelf back there and drop a candle on the floor, so doing good. So this is Magpie Murders. Let me show you the cover. This is by Anthony Horowitz. I've never read a book by Anthony Horowitz, but I have been really excited to do so. So I am pretty excited that the jar gave me this one. Let me read you a little bit of the summary. It says, Alan Conway is a best-selling crime writer. His editor, Susan Ryland, has worked with him for years, and she's intimately familiar with his detective, Atticus Pind, who solves mysteries disturbing English villages. His traditional formula pays homage to queens of classic British crime such as Agatha Christie and Dorothy Sayers. It's proved hugely successful, so successful that Susan must continue to put up with the troubling behavior if she wants to keep her job. So then she gets his latest manuscript, and it seems that this one is going to be different and that there may be some secrets hidden in the manuscript that she's got to solve. I think that this sounds really good. I've never read an Anthony Horowitz mystery, like I said, and I just picked this one up a couple weeks ago. So I'm pretty excited to go ahead and read it because it was pretty high up on my TBR anyway. So book number 1 sounds pretty good to me. Okay, so that's book 1. I think we're gonna try and do maybe eight draws and see what we get. See if I can get my, my arcs on there or not. So I have a lot more stuff in here than I had last year. And as I said last month, I reserve the right to say that I can't find something for a prompt if it is, because some of these are a little bit too specific and I'm still trying to decide what's going to work and what's not. So I'm willing to put some back. Let's see. All right, so the first prompt is going to be an easy one for me, and that is sci-fi. I'm not gonna try to show you all those. That's gonna be too hard. So sci-fi is my first prompt here. And let us see what I have. Okay, I'm back. I have pulled some books to try. I have a lot of sci-fi on my shelves right now. First we have Moonbound by Robin Sloan. Love the cover on that one. Then we have How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. Love that. We have The Deep Sky by Yumi Kitasei. Ocean's Echo by Irina Maxwell. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. And we have Locklands by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is really chunky. So on my library TBR, I don't actually have as many. I do have the series that I need to start. I have the first book in the Vorkosigan Saga by Lois McMaster Bujold, because I want to start that. I have City of Stairs, also by Robert Jackson Bennett. I have Too Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. We'll see. I'm so nervous about that series. And then I have a couple of lighter ones. I have Hunt the Stars by Jessie Mihalik. That's going to be a sci-fi romance. And I have Lady Eve's Last Con by Rebecca Framo, which I think is going to be a sci-fi mystery. So let's kind of talk through this a little bit. Let's do some narrowing down of the physical books I have first, because I am prioritizing physical books this year. Locklands is the last book in a trilogy that I definitely need to finish. I'm kind of like super nervous about finishing this trilogy. I didn't love book 2. I really, really loved book 1. And book 2, I mean, it was fine. But then I feel like book 3, it looks like we're going to have some changes to the story. No spoilers, that I'm not really sure how into I am. I'm not sure that I'm ready to read this one yet, although I do need to finish it so that I can say I finished a series this year. Yumi Kitase, The Deep Sky. So this is I think it's kind of a post-apocalyptic, kind of everyone, Earth survivors all in the same ship kind of story. I read her second book called The Stardust Grail and I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I have heard that this book's actually better. It's not super long, which I do like. This one's a possibility, definitely. I'm gonna hold on to that. And then we have How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. So I know this is kind of a literary sci-fi and that it's going to have lots of kind of almost short story-like sections. Yeah, it's definitely kind of like a short story thing. I am reading a sci-fi short story collection right now, so I feel like this one's going to be a no for the moment. Then we have the Hank Green, an absolutely remarkable thing. I don't really know anything about this series. I just know that I really love Hank Green, the person. So I'm assuming that I would like this, and I own both books in the series. Let's see what it's about. It says, a young woman becomes an overnight celebrity before realizing that she's part of something bigger and stranger than anyone could have possibly imagined. So that's a possibility also. I'm going to set that one down here. Then we have Moonbound by Robin Sloan, which is one of my highly anticipated books. It came out last year. It says it's part of the Penumbraverse, which I actually have read Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, but I have not read, I guess, any of I guess there's one more book within that universe, but I think that's okay. I don't think you need to have read them all. And this is, I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what this is about. And anyway, it says it takes place 11,000 years from now. I'm very interested, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for it quite yet. Then I also have Ocean's Echo by Evelyn Maxwell. So this is, it's probably a sci-fi romance because the first one in the series is. I know it doesn't follow the exact same characters, but I feel like, depending on what else I get this month, that this might not be a bad one to read. So I'm going to say then that I'm considering this one, Ocean's Echo, and I'm considering The Deep Sky because that is a standalone sci-fi. And I do know that there's some kind of a mystery on the ship that she's trying to solve. I think that I'm gonna go ahead and say I should finish. I'm not ready for Locklands, but I do need to finish the series. So we're gonna go with Ocean's Echo. And I cannot take this long for every single one of these or we are never gonna be done. All right, let's pull another one. We have School Setting. For School Setting, I have 3 books to choose from. I have Where Sleeping Girls Lie. This is a young adult mystery set at a mysterious boarding school. I have heard good things about it. I also have The Poppy War, which I know does have at least part of the book taking place in a school setting, and I have been really wanting to start. And I do know that this is quite the intense series, but I love R.F. Kuang and I have been wanting to read it. And then we have Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, which is another young adult mystery that I would like to get into. I am feeling like it is time to start The Poppy War. This is on my 25 and 2025 list this year, I think. And this is the story of, it says, she is a peasant, she is a student, she is a soldier, she is a goddess. When Rin aced the Keiju, an empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to study at the academies, it was a shock to everyone. To the test officials who couldn't believe a war orphan from Rooster Province could pass without cheating, to Rin's guardians who always thought they'd be able to marry her off to further their criminal enterprise, and to Rin herself, who realized she was now finally free of the servitude and despair that had made up her daily existence. So I have heard that this is a really intense series. I know that it's the first thing R.F. Kuang wrote, and she does have R.F. Kuang actually has a new book coming out this year that I'm also going to be reading, and I think it might be time to start her series. So I'm going to put this one for School Setting. Let's draw another one. Okay, let's see what we have. I have Enemies to Lovers. So that looks like it's a romance prompt. And I have a couple of romances, maybe sci-fi romances on my list. I also have some real romances, so let me see what I have. Okay, so I think I had a couple options, but I really did not want to read a sci-fi romance for this, so I'm going to pick The Perfect Crimes of Marion Hayes. This is a queer historical romance by Cat Sebastian. Cat Sebastian is the queen of queer historical romances as far as I am concerned. And this one is about Marion Hayes, the Duchess of Clare, just shot her husband. Of course, the evil, murderous man deserved what was coming to him, but now she must flee to the countryside. Unfortunately, the only person she can ask for help is the charismatic criminal who is blackmailing her and who she may have left tied up a few hours before. So that's kind of all I have about that. I don't need to know anymore. I just love Cat Sebastian. I think that she is such a good writer, and her characters always have a lot more depth to them than your typical romance novel trope. And I've been really wanting to read this series, which is her series that I have not started yet. I think this is book 2 in it, but I'm going to be honest, I don't really care about the order of books when it comes to romances. You can usually read them in whatever order you want. So book number 2, this is going to be Enemies to Lovers. That was book number 3, 4, I don't know where we are. Let's pick another prompt. Okay, so now we have a book club read, which I'm going to take to mean anything that a book club I feel like would be likely to choose that. I have a couple of online book clubs that I sometimes do, so I will check and see if any of those are reading anything I want, and if not, then I'm just going to go straight over to my literary fiction shelf and pick out a book. Okay, so I do have a book club that I sometimes read along with, which is the Feminism and Fantasy Book Club on our Fantasy, and they are going to be reading Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie for their February pick. So I had this book on my December TBR and I never got to it because, if I'm honest, I am incredibly intimidated by the series, and I don't know why. I think it's because anything that feels a lot more like hard science fiction tends to be something that I am scared of. So, but I think that it's a good option. I think I'm going to go ahead and try it. We're going to see if I actually get to it, and if I do, I will participate in the discussion. That is something that I enjoy doing, is having a couple of online book clubs, but I don't have any real life book clubs this month that I'm reading a book for, so this is going to be the closest we're going to get, and it is on my TBR. So Ancillary Justice is my next pick. All right, let's try and pick another one. So we're going to do, I think, maybe 4 more. So this one is favorite genre. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tell you my favorite genre is fantasy, and I'm going to pick one of the books that I have as an arc that I need to read for this month, and that's going to be Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. Sword Heart is the story of a kind of an older lady. I think she's in her late 30s. That's younger than me, so I don't know why I just said older lady, but anyway, older than most heroines, who has been trapped by her in-laws family because she has inherited everything. One day she pulls a sword that's been up there forever off the wall, and it turns out that the sword has a swordsman trapped inside it. And it's the story of kind of their romance. I've read a little bit of this book before. I started it last year, but then didn't end up finishing it. But I am really excited to read it now. I'm trying to read all of T. Kingfisher's books. I do have the arcs, so I can read it a little early if I want to, although it's already out. And then I've also pre-ordered the special edition. So I really hope that I love it. But even if I don't, T. Kingfisher is an author who I'm trying to read to zero. Will never make it because she publishes so many books. And also, I always just love to have a whole collection of her books on my shelves. So I think this is going to be a cute little fantasy romance. So I'm excited for that one. Let's keep going. Next we have, what do we have next? Pink. We have a pink one, and it says, a hyped book. So this could be a new release. It could be a book that I am very hyped to read. But I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this for Emily Wilde. And that is my most hyped book of the month, most definitely. So I'm going to use for hyped book, we're going to be reading Emily Wilde. And hopefully I'm going to get my copy from the library. Last I checked, I was number 50 in line. This is for the ebook. And they had 120 people waiting, and they had 17 copies ordered. But sometimes they do more. And I have 4 local libraries that I am allowed to have a card at, and I did get this from the Cincinnati Library, which is the biggest one, so hopefully they're going to order some more copies and I'll be able to get it at least within the first couple of weeks. Okay, we are at 7 books. I still have one more on arc that I'm going to need to get to. So let's go ahead and see what we have. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. So I got Intimidating. And I feel like this one is going to need to be a literary fiction, especially because I don't have any on my shelves yet or in my stack. So give me a second. Let me pick a couple books that I am intimidated by. All right, guys, I've picked a book that is intimidating, and it's intimidating for multiple reasons. First of all, it is literary fiction, which I love reading, but somehow I always am afraid that I'm not going to love. Also, if you watched my last book haul video, you know that I purchased all 4 books in this series. So it's intimidating in the sense that I need to love all of these books. And that book is the first book in the Neapolitan quartet. It's My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. So this is the story of, I think, a friendship over time, throughout their lives of these girls. I don't know a lot going into it. I know that it is very, very highly recommended, and it was on that top 100 books of the 21st century list. It actually was #1. So that's another reason I want to read it, and that also makes it intimidating. I'm so afraid I'm not going to love it, but I've been putting it off a little bit, but I feel like this is going to be the month that we're going to get to it. So this is going to go on my list. All right, let's draw another one. We are almost done here. I have a couple books I would like to get on here, and I feel like I'm doing a real bad job. So after this, I may have to stop and just make some choices. All right, I have a new release, and that's excellent because I have one more book that needs to go on my list of arcs that I need to read, and that is The Strange Case of Jane O. And it is by Karen. I have to look at my list. She wrote The Dreamers. Oh, it's Karen Thompson Walker. So this is the story of a new mother who I believe starts to have some things happen to her that don't seem real, or she feels like she cannot trust her own memories and thoughts. And I know it's speculative, so I know there's something going on, but I don't know what. And I think that's going to be a great one to read for this. I asked for it because I really like, let me find it. I really like The Dreamers, which you can see here. That's her other novel that I've read, which is kind of like a post-apocalyptic, or more like a pandemic kind of story. I think people that fall asleep and just don't wake up. And I really love that. So I am hoping I'm going to love her new release just as much. Okay. All right, then let's just do one more and see what we can find. See if I can. All right. It's my favorite prompt. It is 5-star prediction. And I love a 5-star prediction because it means I can choose whatever I want. And what I want is to read a book called The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. This is a political fantasy, and I need to read it for my Art Fantasy Bingo Challenge, which I am so close to being done with. But I haven't remembered to put it on any TBRs yet, so I have not read it yet. So I think that this is going to be the month that we are going to be reading The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. All right. Okay, guys, so we're going to go back through and we are going to see what I picked because I don't remember now. Okay, we have sci-fi, and then I picked Ocean's Echo by Ibrina Maxwell. That's a sci-fi romance. And then we got School Setting, and I picked The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I have my pick that I pulled from my physical jar, and I got The Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. Very excited. We had Enemies to Lovers, and I picked The Perfect Crimes of Marion Hayes by Kat Sebastian. I have one more physical book that's going to be an intimidating book. I picked My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. And then I have a whole bunch of books I don't actually own yet. So we have a book club read, and this is going to be Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. A hyped book. This is going to be the new Emily Wilde book, Emily Wilde and, oh gosh, Compendium of Fairies. I'm not entirely sure what this one's called, but the new Emily Wilde book. Then I have my favorite genre, and I picked Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, which is an arc I need to get to. We had new release, and I picked The Strange Case of Jane O, which is a speculative book also, which I have an arc of. And then we had 5-star prediction. And I picked The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison, which is a legitimate 5-star prediction. I'm hoping I love it so much. People seem to really, really enjoy this book, so I am excited to read it. Okay, and there you have it. That's going to be 10 books. February is a short month. I can sometimes get through 10 books. I can usually get through 10 books, but it kind of depends on what else is going on. And I do have an arc that I'm going to be finishing up right at the beginning of the month that's going to be a little bit of a carryover from January. But yeah, I think that is a good list, and I am excited by it. I hope you all have enjoyed watching me pick my TBR, and I hope that you will leave me a comment and let me know what books you are planning to read in February, especially if they are any books that you think I would really love. Hope that you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.